I was saying,
Absolutely.
Jay, Green Berets can do anything in the world if you let them.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But again, like I love my Green Berets, right? But like to your point, there's good Green Berets, there's shitty Green Berets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If there's a need for Coke, there's probably gonna be a Green Beret smuggling some Coke across the border, right?
Why you gotta bring up old stuff, Jay? Why you gotta bring
I'm
up
just
old 73
saying.
stuff?
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Green Beret Chronicles. I wanted to sit down with Eric and just kind of give you guys a different perspective as it relates to what's going on in Mexico with the cartels and a few other topics. Eric, I appreciate you coming on. If you don't mind, please take a couple of minutes to let the folks know who you are, where you serve, what you got going on with your company, and then we'll go from there.
Jay, I really appreciate you having me on, man. Excited to be here. Yeah, like you said, I'm out of 7 Special Forces group. I spent 25 years, 25 years in the Army, 20 years in SF. Went throughout Central and South America, and like everyone else, went out to Afghanistan quite a bit. As I got out, I didn't want to go back to a big organization, but I still wanted to help people. So I started my company called Imperio Consulting, where we use the same principles we use in Special Forces: adaptability, collaboration, and simplicity to help business navigate your challenges, man. So they're trying to help folks and link Green Berets up with some private sector and get things done.
Absolutely. Now, if anybody wants to reach out to you or want to enlist your business, is it just a website? Is there any social media that they can get to so they can enlist your services, or like how can folks find you?
Yeah, you got a website at www.imperio-consulting.com. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can find us.
That's awesome. And folks, what we'll do is we'll link all those social media platforms in the description box and also in the pinned comments, just in case you guys need Eric's services and you guys will have access to them. So with all that said, Eric, so I wanted to speak with you mainly because one, you've spent time in Latin America, right? And then two, um, you've probably have done or you've known folks that's done uh, the narco mission as it relates to Colombia and all the cocaine and all that stuff that's taking place down there. Based on what you've seen on your operational side, has that mission been effective in Latin America, trying to combat drug trafficking, etc.?
I think it's had an effect. We worked in Colombia. My whole career, we were in Colombia. So back and forth doing multiple counter-narcotics missions. We've gotten trained from not being able to shoot to being able to execute targets with the best of them. The thing that we can't ever stop is the demand here, right? You got supply, you got demand. It just keeps coming. As long as people still want it, the cartels are gonna figure out how to get it here because there's too much profitability in it. However, you can't sit on the sidelines and just wait and watch people do that, right? So staying involved and training folks up, you're making a difference. It's just chipping away a little bit at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And that's what, myself and a couple other dudes I've been preaching. If there's a demand for anything in the world, someone's gonna fill in to fill that gap, right? And I can't help but think to the days of, Pablo Escobar and all these other folks that we've essentially eliminated. And fast forward to today, we still have an issue, right? We still have this problem. Only now folks are dying from the fentanyl that's being put into these different products. If you had it your way, or if you were president for a day, how would you specifically, Eric Brown, go about fixing like the demand issue? Like, how would you fix that? Would you legalize drugs like most of these people are talking about doing? What would your approach be?
And that's a tough question. Uh, if I was king of the day and had all the powers in the world, just wave the wand and vanish the drugs away. I'm not completely against legalizing some drugs. You're looking at like the benefits you're having with hallucinogens and those type of drugs there, or medicines people are calling them now with PTSD and whatnot. But if you're looking at the cocaine and all that, let the people know what's really going on and try to tell a story and the narrative, like where does that come from? Because they don't understand, right? They're not seeing whole villages taken over and or a pueblo down in Colombia where the whole village is held hostage by the cartel, making them make drugs, pushing that. So education and just lock down the border, man. Same way that when Afghanistan was going on, when we were there, I'm sure you can remember, we were operating, things were good. As soon as we left, it went back the way. So you got to have a continuous presence to make something happen and have the political
Absolutely.
will to keep it going.
Yeah, and I think that's where the issue comes in is having the political will to actually make it happen. Now, by no means are you a smuggler, Eric, but if you had like to establish like a link diagram from cocaine making its way from the small village in Colombia all the way up to someplace in Miami somewhere, what would that look like? So from Colombia to where to where to where, like how does this thing work? Because again, I'm sure you haven't been a warrant. You probably have to do a shit ton of link diagrams. What would that look like to you?
Yeah, Jay, you're right. I've done quite a few link diagrams in my day. And that spaghetti graph, I mean, you take it down to the village, right? You get it made. And then after it gets made, it'll go by a vehicle up to packing place like a warehouse, and then it'll either go by boat or air, right, or another truck. They got multiple routes. You got overland all the way up through Central America through Mexico coming that way. You got by water coming up through Miami, and you got by air where they're just dropping it, drones and whatnot. I mean, man, shit, the cartel has submarines, so they're not limited on the ways they can get stuff here.
And that's one thing that I keep hearing with everyone that I speak with. The consensus is the same. Is that hey, they're not dudes in man jams and flip flops, like
No,
in
man.
Afghanistan. They're sophisticated business operators. I mean, business owners is what they are.
Hmm.
And they're intelligent. They don't want anything to do with attacking Americans as far as violence goes, because again, it eats at their bottom line. They're just trying to meet a need, right? They're trying to
Yep.
fill a gap. Um, and I've been pushing this for the longest, man. I'm like, the only way to really fix this is to parent better, to fucking,
Yep.
make sure our youth understand what's going on and make sure like they're not hooked on cocaine. Because even if we crush the cartel on our border, and as long as Americans and whoever else, it's not just Americans that love coke. I'm just saying, as long as people want their fix, they're going to find a way to get it, whether it's through China, whether it's through Canada. Like, hell, it wouldn't even surprise me if dudes are traveling to Mexico to go get it. American citizens, right? It all comes down
Hmm.
to education and finding a way to get rid of that need, to get rid of that demand. Because essentially, once we do that, they'll be out of business. Now, recently, the president gave the cartel a terrorist organization. What's your thoughts on that? Having operated in Latin America, going head to head with actual terrorist organizations, what effect, if any, do you think the terrorist designator is going to do to the cartel?
Yeah, man. The FTO designation changes the playing field. It gives us more, operational tools. It's not just a label. It opens up, remember, team, especially me as a warrant, pots of money. It opens up new pots of money. You think you got money for building roads, you got money for going to war, you got money for this and that. So the FTO opens up those pots of money. It allows us to be able to do financial sanctions, start doing intelligence collection, using our CT surveillance. And then we can put more international pressure on Mexico to step up.
Gotcha. Now, do you think that's going to lead to a change, or do you think that's mainly going to lead to? Because it's something I didn't know either, is that there's multiple cartel. Yeah, we know some of the bigger ones, but some of the smaller ones are always going to be around. Do you think that's going to lead to this issue being fixed, or do you think it's just going to lead to maybe cocaine still flowing, but no fentanyl, like removing that arm of the cartel that's doing all the fentanyl stuff, do you think that's what's going to end up happening? Like, how do you see it ending?
Man, that could be like a whole, branch and sequels and planning this out. Maybe that is, and you lock it down, you start putting so much pressure and hitting their bank accounts where like, hey, well, we keep pushing the fentanyl, they're not gonna let us in. So maybe he shuts that down. That phase of the operation's done, and then we keep doing it, so we shut the rest of it down. Um, yeah, they could see that, comes down to, shutting their line of communication down and putting a cost on doing business.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, do you think Mexico's going to have to play a big part of this? Because one of the things that I feared the most was us going head to head with Mexico, right? Because I read an article that not too long ago that talked about how the cartel is Mexico's fifth largest employer. Like, you don't become that monumental in a country without the government being part of it, without politicians taking their cut. Like, in order to make this work, do you think Mexico's going to have to play like a bigger part? And if so, how willing or do you think that they are to do that?
I think we're gonna make them willing. You're right, man. And we all watch, Narcos. Who hasn't watched Narcos on Netflix? You see how it's tied in. And then from my experience in SF working in throughout South America, that corruption is just going to be there. But the administration's already started with the tariffs, right? You start slapping higher tariffs on, hitting them that way. Or you can cite the example when we had the migrant caravans coming up, and then at the time Trump's like, "Shit, I'm gonna block the border. Then you can't come in." Then immediately Mexico's like, "Whoa, okay," and then the caravan stopped coming, right? So the pressure's there, but that's the whole point of with us, man, with SF guys working by with and through, working in the country and trying to identify those individuals that we're training that are going to go up to those higher levels to do the right thing. And by no means
Absolutely.
am I saying everyone is bad in Mexico. I'm sure there's amazing people everywhere, but there's shitty people everywhere as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like, we're realists over here. Like, we understand that there's good people and there's also shitty people, right? It is what it is. But as we get ready to navigate this terrain, and my personal opinion about this, and you could let me know what you think about this, is like, me personally, I understand the supply and demand aspect of it just because I'm a business guy and I'm sure you are too. Like, you understand that aspect of it. And for me, and we can use Syria as an example. I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on down there, the shit show that is Syria now after Assad left. One could argue that Syria might be the next biggest threat to us right now because there is so much unknown going on to where we don't know what's going to come out of that place. ISIS 3.0, ISIS
Hmm.
4.0, we have no fucking clue what's going on in that country, right? So I would always, like, I did a video not too long ago stating that, you know what? We should have just fucking left Assad where he was because at least we know what we have in Assad. We know Russia can control Assad. We know at any given time China could, control Assad. We have ways to get to Assad to make sure he's doing what he needs to do.
Hmm.
And now that he's removed, it's like a vacuum. And now they're going around executing Christians and doing all sorts of crazy shit in there. Who's
Yep.
gonna have to clean that shit up? We are, because
Yep.
once they turn their eyes to the west, guess what? Now we got to go to work and make sure that our citizens are straight.
Hmm.
I would argue that it's the same thing with fucking Mexico, right? It's just my personal opinion that at least we know what we have with the cartel. If we're able to crush the fentanyl issue, which from what my research and from the folks that I've spoken to, it's one entity that's actually doing it. All the other ones understand, like, hey, you don't fuck with money, you don't kill Americans, you don't do X, Y, and Z. We're business people, we're filling a gap, and we're good to go, right? I would argue that because a lot of people are saying destroy the cartel, get rid of them. I'm like, okay, and then what? When the appetite for drugs doesn't change in America, who's gonna fill that gap? right? Is the devil we know better than the one we
Yeah.
don't? Or like, you know what I mean? So I don't know what your thought is about that, Eric, but I'll be curious to, because again, you're a strategic level thinker. I'll be curious to see like what your thought is about that.
No, you're right, man. I mean, we can look back in history. Every time we've removed a known enemy, Saddam Hussein, right? He ruled with an iron hand. He did some stuff we don't agree with, but he didn't have people getting their heads cut off down in Iraq, or maybe he was doing that, but not American
Yeah.
heads. We removed him, and then execute 20 years of war. Uh, Go back to Iran back in the
Jimmy
70s when
Carter
we
era.
tried to
Yep.
mess with that. I mean, that's one reason the North Korea guy is still there. Because who knows what happened when we took him out? Because if no one doesn't know,
Yeah.
we as America can remove anyone from the battlefield that we want to. Don't
Should
don't
we?
think we can't. Don't
Yeah.
think we. That's right. Should we? The same way I got really, people that have great credit scores can go buy $100,000 truck. But should they go buy $100,000 truck? Probably not. But yeah, the removal. I would say the just a phased approach of. I like your idea there, Jay, of hitting up the cartel of the fentanyl folks, and removing that. Uh, but yeah, the you're going to create a vacuum, and what's going to go into that vacuum?
Yeah.
Unless like go back to our Green Beret days, doing that security force assistance and FID, and putting Green Beret teams in Mexico, training those folks up to have them have that desire to lock it down, right? Building
Yeah.
that human and physical network there, so we can keep a pulse on it, because a lot of places where they're at, we don't have a good pulse on it, and that's not because we couldn't do it. It's just the political will is not there to let us do it.
Absolutely.
I was saying,
Absolutely.
Jay, Green Berets can do anything in the world if you let them.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But again, like I love my Green Berets, right? But like to your point, there's good Green Berets, there's shitty Green Berets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If there's a need for Coke, there's probably gonna be a Green Beret smuggling some Coke across the border, right?
Why you bring up old stuff, Jay? Why you bring
I'm
up
just
old Santa
saying.
Cruz stuff?
I'm just saying, man. Like we
I
really got
know,
to
man.
work on getting rid of that
I
appetite right
mean,
now.
yeah, seventh group guys bringing the Coke. The third group guys are bringing the AKs.
Hey, we're trying to take this shit over. We all have our part to play, right? Now we need fifth group to get some intel, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
we're running this shit. Now, recently there's been a lot of buzz about leaders in the cartel hiring ex-military people. I'm sure operating in Latin America, that's nothing new to you because, again, all the commandos that we go overseas to train, it happened in Iraq, like it happened in Afghanistan. You have ex-commandos, whatever, now working with that regime in that country. So I don't think it's that big of an issue, especially when you're from a third world country and you have expertise that we've given you, and now the cartel comes running. You still got to feed your family. You still got to protect. You still got to be a man. So it's like
Yep.
I don't see it as any different than us over here working for your Blackwater or any other contracting company, right? Only the cartel is paying those guys way more. However, the disturbing thing that I heard of is that now you have American trained special forces operators or ex-operators. Some of them might be on the payroll of the cartel. What's your initial thoughts about this? I don't know if you have any knowledge or if you've heard of it, but what's your initial thought just hearing it from me for the first time?
Yeah. So I heard some of the same things. I couldn't verify, but I did hear like one of the cartels. They were saying had a Green Beret as a leader and a SEAL like recently out of the mix. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit different than what I'm used to of the guys that just made that transition. Not surprising. I was in SF long enough where we trained some Mexican soldiers in the early 2000s who ended up going to start the Los Zetas. Right, we got a little bit of egg on our face, but I mean, we control. But it's not surprising, right? They have the money. What are they going to do? If you have the money, you're going to hire the best of the best. So they're going to get their highly skilled operators. Like you said, they're a business and they want to protect their bottom line. But one bad thing, if you start bringing in guys like us and other organizations they get a little bit more structure, a little bit more advanced tactics. They know how to coordinate attacks. They know our TTPs, right? If we go, I mean, we know how we fight. So if you put someone with our background in there, I mean, it changes the day. Also, on the clandestine side of how we do those type of operations in the human space, and then in the signal collection space, there's a lot of stuff we know about that the regular public doesn't know about. Take us and then put us into a cartel, man.
It really
We've
changes
become
the
an HPT.
dynamics.
Yeah, it changes the
Yeah,
game, man.
yeah,
So
yeah. And as much as I hate hearing that, again, it all goes back to one, how's America taking care of its veterans? We've done a really fucking shitty job at it, especially with the VA. Like every veteran that I know has a bone to pick with the VA, right? Then you have homelessness that's out of control, mainly fucking. There's a lot of veterans that are going through it, PTSD. They feel like they've been forgotten about. And at the end of the day, man, like it always goes back, at least for me, especially being from a third world country, when your back's against the wall and you have a family to provide for, you have, certain obligation as a man that you have to uphold. I'm not saying it's right, but no man is gonna watch their kids starve. You know what I mean? No dude is gonna watch their family goes in disarray. So I also think that it's also the responsibility of this country to make sure that it keeps a pulse on its veterans. Not that I'm saying they're fully to blame. Not that I'm saying those guys that went had issues mentally, veteran wise. I'm just saying if veterans are going over there and helping them build IEDs and do all this dumb shit, then we as a country also need to look inwards and figure out what the fuck's going on. That's all I'm saying about that. But Eric, before we round this up, man, you have any last thoughts? You have any last words before we wrap this section up?
I'll tell you what, man. Because I was always taught by a team sergeant one time, right? You can't say something's broke without giving some kind of a solution, right? So we know it's broke. So here's let's talk about phased approach. First thing, we need to expand our intelligence and special operations presence down there, right? Doing surveillance, more human intelligence, sig and collect. Start reaching out, put our small teams there, working with their folks, getting them trained up to be able to fight their own stuff. Number two, hit the cartel where it really matters. Hit their pockets, their bank accounts, freeze accounts, lock accounts, take their Miami freaking houses away, their Miami clubs away. Put pressure on Mexico to do their part. Then number three, go to the border. Man, we got so much AI and smart tech. Let's upgrade our border from the 60s to 2025. AI driven surveillance, counter drones, the whole thing. Start training our law enforcement at the state and federal level to know how to talk to each other. And then finally, do what we know how to do. Let's attack the cartel the same way we attack the terrorists, right? You hit them up and hit the supply lines, hit the money, and weed them out that way. And then you got something going on. But it's
Now,
going to take a
now, do you
lot. It's a
think?
full front effort.
Yeah. Now, do you think there'll be any blowback? Because, like I said earlier, when people's backs are against the wall, if their backs ever end up against the wall, do you think there's going to be any type of retribution, like any blowback, especially since we share a border? And if so, like using your ability to risk assess, what do you think that looks like? And is that something that you see happening in the near future? Because my biggest concern is, especially now, since they have the ability to use drones and put IEDs along the border of Brownsville down there in Texas, my biggest concern is, man, if this gets out of hand, we already know they have structure in the United States, right? Whether it's warehouses, banks, all that stuff, but now their back is being pushed against the wall. Like, what do they do now? You know what I mean? Like, what's your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's why I would say hitting the structure first. But yeah, I don't think Mexico will get involved in some kind of head on with us. And the cartel, you're gonna have that's where the political will and the society's stomach comes in. They might push, but they could do an IED in Brownsville, or they could do this or that, you know. But that's the risk you got to take if you're going to take them off the battlefield. You just do your best to mitigate it. And I would say I would be worried about, protecting our brothers and sisters and still in uniform that are doing the missions. So I would not put our operations, lined up fighting face to face. This completely be a clandestine covert war, in the shadows being fought, and they wouldn't know where it's coming from.
Absolutely. But again, to your
They
point,
do.
the
I mean,
American,
they do, but
yeah, the American people just have to be able to stomach it, right? When you have, because the amount of damage that the Taliban was able to do with their IO campaign, and they're not, as advanced as we are in the western side of the world. Just imagine the cartel being able to do that tenfolds as far as pictures of X, Y, and Z going down, and the politicians have to be able to stomach it. The American people have to be able to stomach it, right? Because what we can't do is start and then be swayed to stop because of all the social media shit that's gonna hit once we start
yeah,
going operational down here. So, but again, like I hope there's a better solution. Mexico just handed over 29 prisoners not too long ago, so it seems like the strategy that Trump is using is working. So hopefully Mexico gets involved. I know there's some 7 group dudes down there right now doing J sets and all that stuff. So it sounds like that aspect of your recommendation is also being implemented. I just want peaceful solutions, right? Like we've both been there. We've seen what war looks like, and I damn sure don't want that shit near our border. So we'll see what that
hey,
looks like.
I left one out, Jay, that we could hit them with that no one
Sure.
likes. Tax the shit out of it. Make a leak, tax the
Yeah.
crap out of it, and sure you can do it. 99% surcharge going across the border.
Yeah. Like
That'll slow things
I
down.
think, yeah, I think we're one of the countries that chooses not to one legalize certain things, and we're leaving a lot of money on the table when we just tax the shit out of it. That changes the dynamics, right? Because that's like living in a state that that doesn't allow you to carry guns or whatever. Like the criminals are still gonna have guns.
Yep,
So
they're
the
still
least
gonna
you
have
can do
guns.
is let other people carry guns so they can defend themselves. Like if cocaine's gonna come in anyways, right? And dudes and citizens are gonna consume it, just legalize it and tax the shit out of it. At
Yep.
least the government is getting a cut. That's like alcohol, like during the prohibition time frame. Like people are gonna find ways to sneak it in. They're gonna find ways to consume it. Fuck it, man. Just tax the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Right? At
Make it
least,
more expensive.
yeah. At least you can monitor it, and now you have a way to fucking control it and at least get some money out of it, so you can create rehab shelters and everything else that's needed to
Yeah.
help these
Yeah,
folks
use that
get
money where
away
it
from
goes
it.
directly into rehabilitation centers and educating folks and putting opportunities out there that keep them out of that whole lifestyle.
Absolutely, man. Like I agree 100%. One more time, Eric. Name of the company. Where can people find you, social media wise, and then we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, man. So we're Imperial Consulting. We come in, we navigate the human domain and help you overcome your challenges using a team called the Green Beret Approach. Simplicity, adaptability, and collaboration. Appreciate you having me on, Jay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And your social media, you said YouTube, Instagram, and what
Facebook.
else?
Yeah, all of them. We got the LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X. That's it. I think that's it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Folks, if you need any help with any of that stuff, make sure you reach out to Eric. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below, guys. How do we fix this issue that we find ourselves in? I know the president's doing the best that he can, but you guys are probably on the ground, seeing it happen, seeing overdoses, and hearing about all that stuff. Share your experience in the comment section below, guys. Until next time, take care of yourself.